the Lord and Mistress episode 3 reaction. Where is it? Shh. I'm live on Twitch right now and we're gonna watch it. So as soon as the video is uploaded, make sure to click the link in the comments pinned. You're probably gonna catch the reaction live. If not, wait for the YouTube upload. We have some cut content from Mr. Any News finally. Let's get it.
If there was ever a series that needed to cut content to go along with it, Lord of Mysteries would definitely be it.
Absolutely.
That's not because it's impossible to watch without. It's just there's so much lore that the Donghua can't possibly cover all of it.
And the nature of the pacing, remember the event-based structure, Tencent's given an ultimatum to TurtleMe and BCMA Studios saying, you gotta get 75 chapters all done in 3 episodes so that the clown fight can happen, because the average monkey crayon eater watching anime does not have the patience to sit through slow burn content. So due to that, it seems really fast and a lot of stuff is getting glossed over. That's why stuff like this is very important. Did I say cuttlefish again? Did I say TurtleMe again? God, I keep switching TurtleMe and Cuttlefish over and over again because both are fucking sea creatures.
Like, whether it be Beyonders and Pathways, the mysterious kingdom Klein now finds himself in, the churches and cults, or the history behind all of it, every aspect is fleshed out in rich and overwhelming detail. Now, I know a lot of you might be confused with what you watched from episode 1, but I promise that sense of bewilderment is all part of it.
Okay.
Just like how Klein is unsure of where he is, how he got here, and what's going on around him, we too are thrust into this world with no information whatsoever.
True.
Yes, the pacing is undoubtedly fast, but I think this video can really help to alleviate that. So, if you're looking to better understand Lord of Mysteries and see how episode 1 compares to the novel, stick around as this will cover all of that.
I'm sticking around.
But first, if you're looking for a new art—
Oh, I forgot. Oh, usually during the Any News videos, I'm so good with the ad break stuff, but it's been a while since I've watched this content. But first, before we get started, ad break.
PG with amazing graphics, a unique style to combat, and the best turn-based gameplay I've played on PC and mobile, allow me to introduce today's sponsor, Girls Frontline 2 Exilium.
Yo, where's the Uma Musume sponsor, man? I honestly don't like games like this, straight up. Listen, if you enjoy this game, go ahead. It's just personally, I hate futuristic, like, gun waifu, this kind of like style. I much prefer the Genshin Impact, the Honkai Star Rail, the, you know, like just regular like, medieval like fantasy adventure like kind of dripping outfit. On top of the aesthetics that I don't like with the whole guns and stuff, this grid-based gameplay is something I fucking despise. I'm sorry, that's just how I feel. I'm sure, Jesus Christ. When you say recoil here, what does it mean though? Recoil B, or are we talking about Thank you, Rems, for the tier 1. Honkai looks pretty modern though? Yeah, sure, some characters do, but many don't. That's what I'm saying, right? I much prefer like the standard anime isekai fantasy, you know, drip rather than all this, you know, modern, you know, warfare, gun stuff like that. But anyways,
Episode 1, The Fool, covering chapters 1 to 14 from the web novel, where the anime starts with a very brief description of Beyonders and Pathways. The novel begins immediately with Klein's transmigration, a concept most of you might be more familiar with as getting isekai'd.
That's right, it's like your soul has been planted onto a different body in a different world. It's like, it's not the exact same thing as, I mean, when you die by getting hit by a truck, then you are reincarnated, or you sometimes have your own still body. Basically, like sometimes like it can be a Mushoku Tensei's incident, right? Where you have a brand new body, and clearly Rudy's soul has been implanted into this new kid. And then there's the ReZero ones where you don't know what happened, honestly. I don't know if he died or not, but he just kind of gets transported into a different world.
His awakening was met with quite a bit of confusion since paralysis, pain, and headaches overwhelmed his entire body. He hadn't yet realized he wasn't Chou Ming Shui anymore, so
Zhou Mingri. Apparently, it just called it Zhou Mingri.
The main source of his panic was thinking he might not be able to show up to work tomorrow. It was once his body finally allowed himself to move again that Klein would take in his surroundings, then himself. Immediately, he knew this was a transmigration he'd read about in so many novels before, so while younger him might have been overjoyed to be in a situation he'd always fantasized about, the current him just found it troublesome.
I mean, if I got sent to a different world, and there's basically I gotta share bathrooms with like 30 other people in the building, and there's no internet, and I'm poor, and everything sucks, and I wouldn't want to be here. Genuinely, I would hate to be here.
Eventually, his panic would subside, and it was soon after that memories of the original Klein would start appearing to him.
Slowly.
He would learn all the general info we saw in the anime, plus a bit of extra details regarding his family.
Okay.
So, his father was a sergeant who'd sacrificed himself during a conflict with the southern continent,
Rip.
a loss which would provide the compensation enabling him to attend private language school. This in turn laid the
Damn. Dad's life insurance got us some money to go to school. Thank you, I guess. It's kind of morbid though, you know?
foundation allowing him to get into university, a period of time where his mother would pass away as well.
Yikes.
That being the case, all Klein has left is his elder brother, a younger sister, and
I mean, isn't that pretty realistic of like the mortality rate and like the average lifespan of people back in this time frame? Like most people didn't live past like 30, right? That's why people got married so like at a young age and would pump out kids, because like the mortality rate, you don't live long. Like you're lucky if you made past 30. Most motherfuckers just die as babies or like can't even make it to 20s because the living circumstances and the situations, it's just so harsh.
the two-bedroom apartment they stay in. They're by no means wealthy at all, but they are supported by their elder brother and his income at an import and
Benson.
export company. Now,
You
as
got
a
Benson.
history graduate himself, Klein has a solid knowledge of the origin for all languages in the northern continent, as
Okay.
well as the more rare Hermes language more commonly used in ancient texts and praying rituals.
That's right. Ancient Hermes also, right? The most dangerous like language of the three that we compared in, you know, Unc Neil's like teachings and how you could like accidentally incur the wrath of evil spirits and shit.
Texts and praying rituals. This is the language the mysterious notebook was written in, but rather than have numerous bits be translated like Black Emperor or the Tudor Kingdom, the only line Klein read was the final one. As shocking of a statement as it
Wow,
was,
everyone's gonna
Klein's
die.
attention couldn't help but shift towards the revolver. Reason being that if his family was as poor as it was, then how
Yeah, maybe how does he have a gun like that? Maybe he was secretly, you know, just like saving up money and bought it. Maybe it's someone else's revolver.
was it that they could afford this weapon? Even the gas lamp was something far out of their budget, but that was a gift his older brother Benson saved up for.
Let's go, Benson!
You see, because Klein's success would affect their family's future as a whole, Benson had used his own savings in order to ensure Klein had the best conditions to study in.
What a go-to big bro, man. He just works and acts as the leader of the household and takes care of his entire family. Probably working a job that's really harsh too.
It was a negotiation with the landlord that resulted in this. This, however, was a gas meter, and it required one single coin to operate. A copper penny typically used as the basic currency for the Lone King.
Should I have permanently banned that guy? I really don't fuck with spoilers. See, when I ask questions, like, these are very rhetorical questions. Even minor details like that, I just don't want to. It's not a spoiler? Did they ever mention it in the actual show, though? If the anime hasn't confirmed it, why would I want an answer for it? It was in episode 2? Episode 1? Did they actually mention it? Alright. Alright. Get his ass back here. Let's go back.
Kingdom. Klein would then see it was still the dead of night, so that's when he figured he should clean up his room before his sister woke up. It was a routine trip to the bathroom, triggering another one of his memory fragments. This time it was about his landlord, Mr. Frankie, and all the times he would inspect the bathroom to make sure no one was wasting anything. That
What? What?
This time it was about his landlord, Mr. Frankie, and all the times he would inspect the bathroom to make sure no one was wasting anything.
Like wasting water? Does it cost a lot of money to flush the toilet? So it's like, maybe they got a rule in the building. Like, wait. So this guy, maybe there's a rule of like, listen, the toilet cannot be flushed until 3 people have taken a shit. Or at least 5 people have taken a piss. Oh, and he goes there and no. No. That's fucking disgusting. Hell no. Mr. Frankie, you are freaky. Mr. Freaky.
That's not really that important, but what is are the occasional memory fragments, as well as the fact Klein got a washcloth then cleaned all the bloodstains from his former self.
Also, it's crazy how no one heard the gun noise, man, in this room. Even though Melissa was literally right outside and he shot himself in the head, no one heard it. Is that because of some sort of magic that was involved with this whole thing where noises aren't heard? Or is it because it was actually not the gun that shot through the head? That doesn't really make sense to me.
Suicide attempt. He would then empty out the revolver, take in once again the ominous line he read, then go over all the questions currently plaguing him. So it's pretty clear that Klein is rather insightful. He takes his time to let things sink in, then thinks about them carefully before coming to any conclusions.
The noise,
Most of his questions weren't any he knew he needed to concern himself with just yet, as the true problem now was figuring out why he was isekai'd and how he could return.
This is definitely not like, I think that like I want to keep obsessing about this part of how there's got to be a reason why it's Klein Moretti. Why him of all people? Why did Zhou Mingrui go into Klein Moretti's body specifically? It can't be spontaneous random luck. Did the old Klein Moretti want this to happen? What exactly is he trying to do? Did he shoot himself in hopes that someone else would take over his body and maybe like... Because like 3 people were involved in this suicide, right? Based on the flashback. There was like a man and a lady who went crazy. They also mentioned about sacrificing a Beyonder. I don't know if that's talking about the Welches or whatever, because that's the people I think that was involved in the suicide stuff. A really, really schizo theory that I want to keep going off about is how the old Klein Moretti actually was a Beyonder. Wouldn't that be crazy? There's no actual logic or reason for it, but like I think it would be so compelling if the old Klein Moretti before, you know, like this one, before he like shot himself in the head or whatever, was actually a Beyonder, and then he went bang, and then Klein Moretti, now we have a new Klein Moretti, and now he's a seer. And I'm trying to understand like this gray fog power. But that gray fog power, I don't think is due to old Klein Moretti stuff. It has to do with the luck enhancement ritual stuff. And we know that ritualistic magic, stuff like that, it's important in this show. But modern day Chinese enhancement ritual magic somehow applies here as a concept. I don't know. But then again, everything in this show is about like immersion and acting and belief, right? The belief that you have that this thing will work. There was the mention of like the celestial beings, the aforementioned, right? I don't know. There's a lot to unpack, but like that gray fog stuff is not seer power. There's something else going on, and maybe the events that happened leading up to the transmigration would answer more.
There were too many things back at his old life that he didn't want to leave behind. This triggered the last memory he had before he got here, and that was his attempt at Chinese divination. You see, as someone who was terminally online, Cho had purchased a book on the arcane thinking it would help him improve his posturing on the internet.
He's a fucking actual keyboard warrior, bro. Bro is a Reddit mod, he's a Discord. He spends all his days fighting online in Reddit subthreads, comment sections, and YouTube comment sections on Twitter.
It really didn't help at all, so for a while he just left the book tucked away in a corner.
Okay.
It was when a spree of bad luck started plaguing him for about a month
that the
Cho
content!
would put his divination knowledge to use.
The chibi, you know, extra stuff, the chibi Lord of Mystery stuff is so funny and cute, but yeah, his life was entirely just a hellhole because he's a corporate slave, and some street vendor was like, hey, you want a luck enhancement ritual? And he was so desperate, he was like, yeah, you know what, yeah.
He would go and attempt what's known as the luck enhancement ritual. The steps were exactly as we saw in the anime, plus a chant a bit more complex than just the celestial worthy.
But like, what does that mean? What do these beings mean though? Do they actually exist? Because like, I cannot understand why a fucking ritual from modern day China would work in this world. But the more I think again about the stuff we know about Lord of Mysteries, it's all about belief and acting and immersion. So maybe in this world, there exists a power system in which it doesn't matter if it's not from here. Because the Fool is not from this era. The King of Yellow and Black, whatever the hell those colors means. And by establishing this ritual, somehow Klein has manifested this modern day Chinese ritual into the world of Lord of the Mysteries, and these immortal Lord of Heaven and Earth, the Sky Lord, the Exalted Thirch, the Celestial Worthy, these all beings, even though he's making shit up, that like, it becomes reality. Or just happens that these already are established things in the Lord of the Mysteries world. And somehow, people from... What if that guy that gave us the ritual in... Because like, this is either a fake until you make it scenario, or that vendor was actually another person that transmigrated. Imagine that. Imagine like somehow that vendor guy, the one that gave us a luck enhancement ritual, is from the Lord of the Mysteries world, and he transmigrated onto modern day in China, and then he gave this shit to us. What if? Okay, this is a stupid ass theory, bro. This is some stupid ass theory right now. Ready? Old Klein Moretti transmigrated to modern day China and became that street merchant, and then gave it to Zhou Mingrui, the luck enhancement ritual, and then he got put into... That's a stupid schizo ass theory though.
Klein had actually said the accurate version in this scene here, but for some reason it just wasn't translated properly.
Okay.
In any case, it was once the 4 steps were taken and the chants spoken that 5 minutes was all it took for the luck enhancement to take effect.
It worked.
Well, nothing happened after 5 minutes for him, but his transmigration did occur that exact same night. Considering that's more than just an unlikely coincidence, Klein decided he would try the luck enhancement ritual again. Thus why we see him buying all the bread the day after.
This lady's bread store had a shitload of rats inside, man. But then again, I guarantee you every store has rats inside.
Thus why we see him buying all the bread the day after. It was for the time being, though, that Cho would attempt to discover more about himself. Since Klein's memories were partially available to him, he could sit down and recall whatever fragments were there. The thing is, a lot of the more pertinent things weren't. His memories were like shattered glass, missing pieces all throughout. He couldn't remember how he'd attained the revolver, whether he'd been killed or killed himself, or even the meaning behind any of the words in the notebook. He also couldn't remember much about his university life, but what he did know was that he had an interview with another university's history department.
I guess like the memories will slowly come back, bit by bit. That's kind of interesting though, right? Because like instead of giving us the entire context of like Klein Moretti's past, if we're gonna get drip fed stuff, then like it would make the story a lot more interesting.
And since he'd just graduated from the Koi University, his mentor had given him a recommendation letter for 2 other ones.
Okay.
One of which he would be interviewing at for a lecture position in just 2 days. It was a position that, if offered, would boost his family's socioeconomic status way higher.
He didn't talk about any of that. Instead, Klein just joined the Nighthawks and bro's making bank. So I guess, you know, the Nighthawk path, become a Beyonder, I guess it's just more profitable than just being a teacher.
Compared to his brother's salary of just over £1 a week, the lecturer's position gave almost quadruple. So this was an opportunity that could change all their lives for the better.
Money!
Now, Melissa's entrance after would also carry quite a bit of information too, since it's here we learn of the ties between Lowen's education department and religion. In the past, Sunday school was offered by various churches, but in an attempt to mitigate conflict and maintain religious neutrality, the kingdom enacted a basic education law.
Oh?
Rather than have the Lord of Storms, the Evernight Goddess, and the God of Steam and Machinery
Yeah, these are the 3 main churches, right, that exist in the kingdom that we live in, right?
all compete, the kingdom instead established public schools. I don't expect those titles to have any meaning to you right now, but it does introduce the idea of multiple churches and their influence over society.
Okay.
In any case, Melissa herself aspires to be a steam mechanic, a passion also supported by her older brother Benson.
Yeah, I guess there's a little bit of a hint to that, right? Because like she fixed our watch in the beginning of the episode. Not that that really gives us... I don't know, it's just like, alright, she fixed the watch. I guess she's really crafty and is good with engineering.
With the tuition that was more on the costly side, Benson would have to work overtime and take jobs that were a bit more dangerous. It's for that reason we don't really see him, since work has kept him more or less
Benson.
preoccupied. For those wondering why Klein doesn't help out too, well, as a commoner very far behind in the university curriculum, it takes all his time just to keep up with it. Like, where all the other students learned the origin language young, Klein's first contact with it was here.
Oof.
That being the case, studying was
That's what happens when I guess you're rich. Like I don't know what origin language is, but like sounds like people like Audrey Hall obviously are gonna grow up and have all this knowledge from the beginning because they're rich, they're privileged. But poor people would only have access to that after so many different years. Yeah, that's why the most important thing, man, is like the spawn point, man. The most like significant indicator of like someone's success often is like the spawn point. What family were you born into? What nation, what kingdom, what family were you born into? What time?
pretty much all Klein did. Now, what Klein picked up here was the most valuable item his father left behind, but due to its secondhand nature, it would often malfunction. Melissa, being the aspiring mechanic she was, often needed to fix it herself. It's a feat we see her do once again here.
Oh my gosh, she's so
She
good.
would then leave to attend her
Mechanics.
classes, a walk which normally took about 50 minutes.
Jesus!
There was the option to always take a horse carriage, but due to its costs, she
Poor.
decided against it.
50-minute commute one way. That's walking too. That's not even on a bus or a train or a car. Well, it keeps you fit, I guess.
A quick bit of lore included shortly after this is that days and years function pretty much the same here.
Probably because Emperor Roselle established it here.
The reason days are split the way they are here, though, is directly due to the influence of religion. You see, there were 7 Orthodox gods carrying influence over the northern continent,
Yep.
each of which I
We know
assume get a
these.
day of their own. Next came an explanation to the Lowen Kingdom's currency system, but due to its confusing nature and grossly uneven denominations, I'll give it some time to see if knowing about it is actually worth it.
I don't really know about the denominations, but we know of like, you know, pounds is like the highest one. Then there's like solely in the middle, right? And beneath that is like the copper pennies and shit.
For now, all you gotta know is that Klein and his family are broke. Klein also has an unnatural passion towards money, so the man spent a whole minute admiring it before finally setting out to spend it.
You know, this is a good problem to have, but it's looking like we reached a critical point in my content creation career where I'm no longer that small. And because we're getting big, more retards are going to show up in chat and start arguing. And I've tried really hard to not make the chat emote only, right? I've tried extremely hard to not make chat emote only because I do believe that having the input is very valuable, right? A lot of big streamers and a lot of big content creators will not even allow their chat to speak because people are stupid. And, you know, the 0.1% is going to ruin it for everyone else. So I have 2 options. I can just either immediately ban people that start arguing and just spoiling right off the bat, just literally just shooting into the dark, or I can just make this emote only. I can make this subscriber chat only too. I'm thinking about it. All I ask is that you just watch in peace. Shut the fuck up about confirming or not confirming anything. When I'm asking questions, I'm not talking to any one of you. These are rhetorical questions for the viewers on YouTube to have their own discussions in their head. Okay? I would hope that people who watch me would at least be just a bit more smarter than the average retard on other people's streams, right? But maybe I have too much expectations from my own community. I'm just warning you. At this point, I might just shut this off and just literally just record this shit offline or just make this sub-only mode or emote-only mode because like you motherfuckers are literally so distracting. You offer nothing to this content other than arguing. And you know what? I think I might just remove the chat entirely.
Now, at first he was hesitant to bring the revolver too, but considering it was the only defensive weapon he had, Klein figured he could at least use it to intimidate someone. Why would he need to do that? Well, his name.
You are motherfucker arrogant! I love comments like this, bro. Oh, it's a 10, it's a Ben 10. Oh, perfect. This is the perfect example, bro. This is a perfect example of a second channel tourist coming in, bro. Yeah. Me addressing my own community and moderating my own monkeys in my own stream because they're not following the rules. That's arrogance. That's right. Yeah. Arrogance is when I use my own authority on my own platform in my own chat to moderate it so that the content can be better. Yeah. That's pretty much it. Listen, you can call me mean, you can call me an asshole, but I'm right. And you are a stupid dumbass that doesn't understand anything because you have the IQ of an actual Neanderthal. It's funny to me too because you still watch my stream. You pull up at 4:43 in the morning trying to watch your favorite content creator. Bro, please just stop watching. But then again, why am I arguing with individual retards in chat? This is the issue, right? This is genuinely the issue as you grow bigger. More stupid people will show up and start crashing out. Me offering content for free and then making sure that people are respecting the rules so that the experience for everybody is better, that is arrogance. That is me power tripping. Genuinely retarded. That's why it's pointless to argue with like individuals on the YouTube comment sections or like Twitch chat. Sometimes I bring it up like this because I just want to show you, right? Sometimes like I genuinely just want to make an example of people to show you that like this is the average intelligence of these idiots, right? Anyways, let's get back to the content.
Neighborhood was by no means classy. The streets were filthy and the poor and starving were everywhere, so the odds of there being thieves were actually quite high. Even more so with all the children getting exploited to become them. It was after Klein had purchased the bread that a trailing figure wouldn't be what sent him into the Tarot tent.
Oh.
In the novel, he would just stumble upon it by chance, then decide to take part since the origin of Tarot here was different than how it was on Earth.
I guess that's kind of cool though, right? Because like in the anime, it made it look like someone was trailing us, right? Because obviously we're involved in some sort of conspiracy. We don't know exactly what happened, and Nighthawk members are already like tailing us. But in the novel, like he's just kind of wandering around. He found a tent, all right.
You see, not only did Roselle create that, along with all the other inventions Klein mentioned, he also invaded nations, brought others under his protection, and made them all bow down to his
Giga
own
Roselle.
empire.
Intis Republic. Wonder what kind of person he was, right? Back on Earth. Because like Klein, before he was Klein, is like this Chinese, you know, corporate slave, software engineer, you know, white collar person that is also a keyboard warrior, very like relatable person. But like, what about this emperor, right? Is he like a sage? Is he like some sort of Giga Chad that just like always existed? Is he also a keyboard warrior? Is he a child that is simply power tripping? Like, I wonder what kind of character he was.
It was from this the Church of Craftsmanship would receive its first public holy revelation, changing the god of craftsmanship to the god of steam and machinery.
Oh.
Again, I wouldn't get too caught up on what any of that means, but would instead just focus on the fact Roselle was the one who caused it. He also created a fleet that discovered a route to the southern continent, leading to the beginning of an era of colonialism.
Oh. Well, I mean, people are on conquest here, right? So I'm sure you all have your own definition of an interpretation of what colonialisms are, but all right, Roselle, you do your thing. It's an empire, right? He's an emperor. What do you expect from a guy named Emperor? You know what empires do? They take over land. They take over, you know, influence of other nations and make them into their own. They subjugate them.
Leading to the beginning of an era of colonialism.
Okay.
The year 1198 was when he was finally betrayed, assassinated by a combination of forces from a rebelling church and the former royal family known as the Sauron family.
Sauron?
Such was the knowledge.
Yo, what is this? Is this some epic shit? Hold up.
The year 1198 was when he was finally betrayed, assassinated by a combination of forces from a rebelling church and the former royal family known as the Sauron family.
Assassinated?
Such was the knowledge Klein flooded himself with, leading to his interest in the tarot cards.
Ooh.
He was also intrigued by the lady herself, curious to see if she could divine that he was a transmigrator.
She was a fraud though. She's like a beast tamer. But she's the one that gave us the moniker The Fool. So I'm sure she's legit. She says she's legit, but it's just like she was a fraud anyways. Some crazy stuff happening. Emperor Roselle got betrayed, assassinated. But then again, that's a tale that is as old as time itself, isn't it? Empires, you know, falling down due to the emperor maybe power tripping a little bit too much or becoming too out of touch and then having a revolt or like a coup happening.
The ritual itself was pretty much the same, but the number of the Fool card is actually supposed to be 0. To Klein, he assumed this symbolized a fresh beginning and new possibilities, but that was based off a very basic understanding of tarot. It was before he could find out what it really meant, though, that the real fortune teller would interrupt and stop them.
It's supposed to be like a new path, right? A new enlightenment. you know, just run it down mid, maybe a little bit too naive and a little bit too, what's the word? Too, basically like, it represents chaos, doesn't it? Does it not? Change, chaos, a new beginning, a new path, and maybe you're out of control and you don't really know what you're doing, but you're just fucking doing it, man.
Klein would then leave since the ritual was no longer free, purchase the rest of food, then head back home to complete his own ritual. He decided he would do it first in his own language, then should that fail, proceed to do it in the languages native to this world.
Okay.
So, with a whisper, a chant, another whisper, and a meditation, Klein would complete the 4 steps of the luck ritual, then quickly be overwhelmed by the sounds of whispers. He could neither understand
Hornacis, Phlegrea. Hornacis, Phlegrea. Hornacis is the mountain stuff, though.
nor distinguish what any of the voices were saying, but what he did know was that the pain of experiencing it was unbearable. It was once that pain finally subsided that Klein would find himself surrounded by fog.
Gray fog, and then there's like red dots and blue orbs and shit, and there's like also like constellations and stuff in here, right? Which is also really interesting because like the concept of constellations and stars and stuff, along with like there was like a spaceman suit in when Klein like drank the seer potion and stuff. I don't know if that imagery matters. What does this all mean though? Where does this power come from? Because he's not a Beyonder right now, yet he has this power. How can regular people, if someone else entirely different used the same luck enhancement ritual, would it work?
It was an endless gray fog dotted with countless crimson stars floating in the distance. 2 of these stars he accidentally touched,
Yeah,
leading
the
them
red
to
and
burst
blue.
open and empty both his mind and spirit. On the other side would be Audrey trying to awaken
There
this
she
royal
is.
heirloom, while Alger would be in the Sonia Sea holding a relic of his own.
And I wonder if that mattered, because it looks like Audrey was doing some sort of like ritual too, of like talking to the mirror, and Alger was just looking at his like frozen cup.
Both items would envelop their holders with a crimson light, sending them to the same gray fog where Klein was at.
Crimson light though, crimson red. We know that red is important though, isn't it? And I thought that there was a differentiation of like Alger was blue and Audrey was red, right? And we see a blue light here too. I thought this is supposed to be Alger and this is supposed to be Audrey. But if everything is supposed to be red, we know that the Evernight Goddess Church, right? The red moon, red crimson is such an important distinction.
Fog where Klein was at. This much we already saw, but what we didn't see was Klein's deliberation between his 2 options here. He could either feign victimhood, hide his identity, and
like, why does the room look like this, right? Like the architecture, the tables, the amount of seats, the chair design. Did Klein think that this looks good and it just manifested like that? Are these details that don't even fucking matter? Who established this shit? Why do we have this power?
his 2 options here. He could either feign victimhood, hide his identity and gain their trust, or maintain his mysterious persona and probe for valuable information.
That's right, and he just acts as this omnipotent fool, this godlike being, and these 2 are just glazing him. And they're like, wow, the fool, you are so wise and enlightened, please guide us.
There was little time to actually make this decision, so Klein decided he would exploit the psychological state of those thrown into such a situation and use that to gain the greatest advantage for himself. He couldn't quite make out who exactly he was talking to, but he figured the stronger he got and the more he understood what this domain of his was, eventually he might be able to see through the fog.
Maybe.
For now, the roles were made absolutely clear.
It's gonna be interesting when we ever actually meet them in person. And we're also going off of code names too, right? The Hanged Man and Justice. So we don't know what they look like, yet we know about their... I don't know, it's like, if we ever get to meet them in person, we don't even realize who it is each other, it's gonna be fun.
Here, they were the visitors and he the master. To Klein, their image was nothing more than a projection from the stars he had touched, creating what he could only assume was an intangible connection only he himself could grasp.
How much of the space theme matters too, right? The constellations, stars, we're in space too. Like, maybe the visuals, maybe it does matter, maybe it doesn't.
That's why he made it clear they could leave whenever they wanted, since with him being the one in control, he wanted to show he carried no ill intent towards them. This made things a bit more comfortable for Audrey, allowing her to open up and ask her question of how to become a Beyonder.
Yeah.
A Beyonder wasn't someone the average person would probably ever meet, but they did exist, whether in courts, tribunals, execution agencies, or other organizations. They were still fighting like how Alger said, it's just there's a lot less of them compared to the number that existed during the early years of the Iron Age. A lengthy period of time dictating the current and ongoing era of the Fifth Epoch.
Boonga boonga.
So, if Audrey wanted to become a Beyonder in this day and age, then all she needed to do was join a church.
Younger
That
potion.
was the first step towards doing so. This typically involved losing her freedom though, so the only other option was to seek out royal families or nobles with a history branching 1,000 years into the past.
That's a bit too much. Yeah, you just kind of join a church and you check out what kind of pathways, they have, and you like drink a potion and boom, you're sequence 9 whatever.
Or seek out some of the more evil organizations hidden in the shadows. None of these
Yeah, that feather is really interesting though, huh? That feather was like shown in the beginning of episode 2 with like some sort of like scribbling writing noise in the background. That was some Forrest Gump shit with this just like floating around the city. And then later on, these two, right, they like became enraged after the feather like popped. What the fuck is this?
organizations hidden in the shadows.
Gotta be Beyonder
None
stuff.
of these were to Audrey's liking, so her inquiry into other options would lead Alger to reveal his own solution. The 2 Sequence 9 potions he himself possessed.
Yeah, and then Klein literally told Alger, he's like, how do I become a Beyonder? And Klein's like, I shall let you answer such trivial matters, Alger. Or the Hanged Man. And the Hanged Man's like, oh yes, wise fool, oh yes.
These potions were the only way people could become Beyonders, and the name of said potion usually coincided with their core characteristics. That being the case,
Remember the one rule that I have in chat? It's for people to not ask when or if we've watched something. And on top of that, for people to never like confirm if we've watched something. Come on, guys. But then again, you're brand new tourists, right? How could you know? How could you know? And if I banned you right now, would it be productive?
potions he himself possessed. These potions were the only way people could become Beyonders, and the name of said potion usually coincided with their core characteristics. That being the case, for the first potion known as the Sailor, this enabled one to have incredible balance, granted immense strength and illusory scales under the skin, increased proficiency at swimming, then greatly enhanced one's mobility
Just
underwater.
The Seaman stuff.
So, for the person who ingested it, they could easily swim like a fish without equipment and just as easily last underwater for at least 10 minutes.
10 minutes?
Such were the powers that came with the Sequence 9 potion Sailor.
That's pretty cool. I personally wouldn't take it though. I don't know. I'm not. I mean, if your entire life is based on the oceans and sailing and boats and stuff like that, yeah, I'm sure it matters a lot. But to me, I'm good.
Such were the powers that came with the Sequence 9 potion Sailor. Spectator granted an exceptionally sharp mind and
Hey, Crunchyroll being put on blast right now, huh? Yeah.
granted an
Boom. Spectator, audience. I don't know. Yeah. Crunchyroll fucking the subs up as usual. Apparently they fixed it. And now people are like, wow, bless Crunchyroll. Wow, they fixed the subs. Bro, that's like, why would you like compliment somebody for, like, Crunchyroll took a shit on the ground and then they cleaned it up afterwards. You're gonna praise them for cleaning up over their own mistake that they made? Now it's good that they did it. It's better that they did it, but it's just like I'm trying to say it should have never happened from the beginning, but whatever, I guess.
exceptionally sharp mind and observational abilities, so the digestion of this would allow its user to easily read people. Whether it's through their emotions or conduct, a person's real thoughts would always be on display for them.
This is Spectator right now, huh? Huh. The audience, sorry, the Spectator. Seer is ill. Dude, this shit. Nah. Roselle glazed Seer more than Spectator, but Spectator sounds pretty OP. Like the intent, because like we need to like read the colors and shit and make a logical deduction of what it could be. Spectator is like, I know the answer.
Whether it's through their emotions or conduct, a person's real thoughts would always be on display for them.
Huh.
The key warning
Maybe the early game Spectator is better in Seer, but like Seer is like a late game scaling like carry where like different sequences after it gets better than Spectator.
with a potion like this, though, is that once a spectator, you can only ever be a spectator. They were words that didn't really go to sway Audrey.
What does that really mean? You can just watch? You can't directly get yourself involved? I don't know. The limitations, this is kind of interesting.
Though, so without hesitation, she would express her interest in the spectator potion. The deal was that in exchange for 100 milliliters of ghost shark blood, Alger would then give Audrey the formula for it.
Wonder what he needs ghost shark blood for. Probably is like a very, very rare material that is necessary to make potions for like higher sequences and stuff for him that Audrey would have access to because she's like a rich girl.
Neither had any concerns the other wouldn't follow through, since under the eyes of the fool, they felt assured.
Okay.
Alger would then give her the location to which she needed to send the shark's blood to, after which he would dictate the formula's potion to her here.
Cool.
Now, Alger was rather ingenious with the way he approached all this, since the offering of his services wasn't just for show.
It's like tribute of like, my lord, I am just but a humble seaman. And I come before you with honest intentions, and I hope to establish good relationship with you.
No, since these gatherings were something he was pulled into without consent, if more were to happen and he couldn't refuse, then the best thing to do was reap as many benefits as he could.
Smart guy.
He'd already secured a resource that was rather difficult to obtain, and
Yeah.
that to him was just the beginning.
He came out on top.
So, with their combined backgrounds, resources, and information networks, Alger believed he could get quite a great deal from these gatherings. Klein had no problem accepting these gatherings either, since already they've shed quite a bit of light on Beyonders and other secrets. So, if he was truly dedicated to figuring out how to get back home, getting as much information as possible was always a positive.
We need to aura farm more and be more mysterious and lie and gaslight them into telling us more information. We need to invite more people here too, more powerful, influential people. People that have rich networks of, like Audrey, royal, right? And Alger, he's like some sort of like sailor in the seas. But like, the more that we can gather powerful, established people in the world and get them to be our minions and for them to think that we're some sort of like cult leader god, the more that we can like dictate how things work in this world. Like, the Tarot Club is so fascinating and funny because they just glaze Klein for the power he has, yet he himself doesn't even know anything. And he has to constantly like be on guard of like, there's questions that I can't answer, but I also can't give away that I don't know, and I have to be very careful about this. So like, there's a very interesting mind game happening.
Even if it did put his own secrets at risk. Now, with this gathering coming to a close, the founding of the Tarot Club would lead to insight on the tarot cards themselves. Just like in our own world, tarot cards here didn't come equipped with the power to divine the future. No, the divinity of such things came from the person themselves.
Okay.
Everyone has something spiritual, allowing them to attune themselves to the spiritual world, and it's the tarot cards that help people interpret the signs they receive from it.
Like the tarot card and the 22 pathways, obviously there is like a connection. But it's not like these tarot cards are the ones that give you power. These are just more like, what kind of personality trait are you, right? What kind of person, like, based on your beliefs and your actions, like, this is what you are. And then based off of that, there's going to be like pathways that's going to be more aligned with that characteristic.
Most of those signs will go unnoticed, but for those that aren't, it's divination tools like tarot cards that will help you understand them.
Okay.
The cards Roselle made are a whole separate thing, each representing an unknown power and one of the 22 paths to the divine. There was mention of it originating from what's called a blasphemy slate, but these are all concepts we'll learn more about in the future.
Okay.
For now, this would be it for the
So there's like two separate tarot cards? There's the Blasphemy Slate tarot cards, as well as the existing tarot cards?
separate thing, each representing it, but for those that aren't, it's divination tools like tarot cards that will help you
These are not Emperor Roselle's Blasphemy Slate tarot cards.
understand them. The cards Roselle made are a whole separate thing, each representing an unknown power and one of the 22
Unknown
paths to the
powers.
divine.
Okay.
There was mention of it.
But those paths to the divine are also not actual pathways and sequences. This is the thing that confuses me. Like, you already have the tarot cards, but then he's got the Blasphemy Slate tarot cards, and somehow they're involved in powers to the divine, and we know that, like, those pathways and sequences are those in the intro of every episode, they tell us every time, right? The tarot cards, the Blasphemy Slate, you know, pathways to the divine, and we see a whole ass tree.
Originating from what's called a Blasphemy Slate, but these are all concepts we'll learn more about in the future.
Okay.
For now, this would be it for the gathering, and Klein would chalk up his experience as an incredible convenience.
We need more meetings. This is what I look forward to the most. It's crazy. In Tensura, if I see a table, I'm like, I'm out. This episode's gonna bomb. No one's gonna care about the reactions. In Lord of the Mysteries, we're begging for the tables to pull up.
With its ability to communicate with others wherever and whenever, Klein would describe the Grey Fog as something akin to a social networking platform.
Yes, it's a Zoom call.
As for the guests Klein just hosted, they actually got a whole chapter depicting things from their end. It's some side character development that could still come in the future, so that's something that we'll leave for later.
Okay.
I think this is a pretty good place to stop, so I'll be sure to continue the series with the rest of episode 1 next week.
Yeah.
If you liked learning more about the show and want to see more, then be sure to
did.
leave a like and let me know down in the comments.
Thank you so much for, you know, the cut content. I think the cool takeaway from this video is more like slice of life backstory of Benson, Klein, and Melissa, their living circumstances, how much Benson is sacrificing himself to take care of the family and the living situations that we're in, right? And then more like information about Emperor Roselle. That's kind of cool, right? The lore of like the assassination and how he went away, and more details about the meeting itself, about the shark blood, the spectators' limitations and stuff like that. It's just, what the hell is this, man? This Grey Fog stuff. I genuinely have no clue, man. Also, motherfucker is telling me, you need to upload these reactions immediately because that's why you're not getting views. Please look at your boy Roshi here. 3 days ago, they just uploaded the video. Listen, time of upload genuinely doesn't matter as much as you think. Even Michelangelo, many people literally upload their reactions like many days after. All that matters on YouTube is that the audience that the algorithm has deemed to be yours cares about the topic of the video that you're uploading. Anyways, please check out Andy News. Here's a link to the video. Bang, bang, bang. Go give it a like. Check out his channel for more content like this. I'll see you next time.